another short video to give an account of an experience I had whilst an inpatient on a psychiatric ward, eating disorders unit. And although it was many years ago, it's an incident that still haunts me to this day, and is another aspect of my PTSD. PTSD, which really started as a result of my experiences in childhood, but was exacerbated by what happened when I was supposed to be receiving treatment, when I was supposed to be receiving care from psychiatric services. I had been in the eating disorders unit for about 8 weeks, and at the time I was living in the Shetland Islands with my then partner, and I had to come back down to London to be admitted to the eating disorders unit. And that in itself was traumatic. And I was told that I could remain on the unit only if I agreed to comply with all their, they called it a regime, which was basically the treatment program. And it was, I called it a unit, but really it was just like a few beds in a general psychiatric ward, and at the time they were mixed wards, it wasn't single sex, so there was not only both male and female patients, but there was people with every kind of mental illness that you can think of, and it wasn't exclusively for eating disorders. The only sort of segregation we got was until you reached your target weight, you were kept in sort of a glass-fronted cubicle. It looked a bit like a goldfish bowl, and absolutely everything had to take place in that goldfish bowl. And when I say everything, I mean everything. We were not allowed to use a proper toilet. We had to use commode. The commode doubled up as our form of transport to get to therapy groups, and so you can imagine that because the commodes were not regularly emptied by the nursing staff, sometimes you'd have to go to your therapy groups on a commode full of quite not very pleasant. And the other thing was that the curtains that were supposed to afford some privacy while you were washing, because you weren't allowed to go to your bathroom or take a shower or anything like that. You were just brought a wash bowl twice a day. And in order to afford some privacy, there were curtains that were closed across the front of the cubicle, but they were closed from the outside, so it meant that anybody walking past could just pull the curtain aside and have a peep to see what was going on, which, as you can imagine, on a mixed sex ward with people with different, problems, would happen. And so you never quite knew if you were going to be watched by a man as you were bathing or trying to but trying to wash yourself as best you could with effectively a washing up bowl full of water. And on one of these occasions, I was aware that I was being watched, and so I remained with my night clothes on. We weren't allowed to wear, outdoor clothes. We had to remain in our night clothes. And I went to open the door to ask for help to get this person to go away. And by doing that, he came into the cubicle, and I was then aware that he had a knife in his right hand. I was obviously terrified because I thought he was going to use the knife on me, but he didn't. He didn't use the knife on me, but he did use the knife. And I had to yell and scream to get someone help to this man, because I had no idea what to do. I've never been faced with something like that. He was bleeding profusely from his neck. All I could think of doing was grabbing the pillow off my bed and just holding it against his neck. And then at that point, a lot of doctors and security and goodness knows who else, I was kind of like bundled out the room. And they were left to deal with this man who had attempted suicide right in front of me. I never did find out if he survived. We were never told. I was allowed to remain in the day room for a couple of hours. There was a member of the nursing staff sat with me. Hardly really sort of spoke, and I assumed that I wouldn't be expected to go back to the same cubicle and have to just carry on as normal. How wrong could I be? They cleared up the inevitable state of the cubicle, and I was ceremoniously wheeled back there on my unemptied commode and deposited back in the cubicle, which just smelt very, very strongly of bleach. And half an hour later, served up dinner. Of course, you have to stick to the regime. So there you are, another episode of why I can't go down that road again. I can't go back into a psychiatric unit again. Yeah, that episode happened in 1986. Yeah, talking about it now, it's as though it's happening right at this minute. I can see this man's face. He didn't say a word. He did not say one word. But I just saw him raise his arm with the knife in his hand, and I was scared for me, and I feel so guilty now because I was frightened for me. It wasn't going to hurt me. And I don't know what the outcome was for him. So can someone please explain to me why I am now being told that inpatient treatment is what would be in my best interests? Why would I ever think that is even an option? Rhetorical question.